We are listening about podcasting, about content creation, about getting in touch with, or even before, create an audience and then a community. But there's a big but on this, but only one T with one T, not the but with two T's. Which is, and this is really important. I learned in the worst way is your content should be sustainable. Okay, there's no point on creating content, at least for me, and I believe for our guest today, he has the same opinion about having a clear and pretty concise way to make your content profitable. So today I brought Mark Savant. Let me, I hope I said it properly, to talk about this so important thing. By the way, we are also listening about new AI features, new AI tools, new AI solutions for businesses and also for content. And I think that Mark loves these tools as well. We need to ask him. So I'm going to bring him. He's in the basement. I think he already ate the cookies. Okay, now it's drinking some water. So let's bring Mark to the screen. Ta-da!
Up the escalator,
Climbing the
baby, in the house.
stairs.
What's up, Marco?
Welcome, 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 my friend. It's a pleasure to have you here. By the way, I met Mark a few months ago, where on LinkedIn, where you should go if you want to make business. That's the perfect place for that. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. I believe this could be a really interesting topic for me. It is for sure. For our audience, it will be as well. If you don't mind to introduce yourself, and then we can start the conversation. And by the way, just let me say this because it's important. If you are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter, feel free to join on Amazon. You can find the link in the video description, marketing.live, because right now I'm highlighting the podcast from Mark, the After Hours Entrepreneur. It's here. So, Mark, besides having this amazing podcast, what else we should know about you?
Well, I like long walks on the beach. I like sunsets. I like sweet nothings being whispered into my ear. But I'm a dog person. Yeah, you got me lit up today, bro. I'm excited to be here. It's like every time we get a chance to chat, Marco, it's so much fun. And just having you be part of the mastermind community and the contribution that you bring there is awesome. It's awesome. So yeah, I guess the 10,000 foot overview is I run a podcast production agency. I help professionals, business owners, tech entrepreneurs build podcasts that are cash flow positive. We take all the heavy lifting off so they can focus on the big stuff. And that was really important to me. I wanted to kind of be like an operator. I wanted to build a business that was scalable. And that's been a lot of fun. I just hired a manager to kind of manage all the quality control stuff that was eating up my day. And so that's the big thing. The podcast itself is great. Cash flow positive, baby. One of the very, very few that have been able to manage that. And then I run a mastermind community, After Hours Entrepreneur Mastermind. And, we meet up once, sometimes twice a week to just figure out clarity. What do we need to work on? What's the next action step? And I think for me, Marco, that's really what I try to focus on is every time I have an interaction with someone, whether it's on the podcast, the agency, the master, I want them to walk away. I want you to walk away with one thing that you can take action on that's going to help you build a better business. That's really what I try to focus on.
Absolutely great. And I'm one of those people in the mastermind. Okay. For those of you watching, I believe that this is important, but we will talk about it in a while. But first, I want to ask you this because this is a really important thing to do before starting creating content, which is how will this make money? Because this was one of my mistakes. Okay, someone has to make mistakes. There's no other way. If you're trying new things, you will make mistakes. But this one was a mistake I made, a little bit expensive for me, which was I didn't had really clear how to make money. Or I had this idea. Okay, I will start creating content, people will like me, and then they will hire me to help them. No, 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 no. Completely wrong idea. So, Mark, can you share some thoughts about this, please?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's important that we start with the end in mind. I also think that the best avenue to generate income is not always obvious at first because you just don't know. You don't know. Like you're surrounded with people that work 9 to 5 jobs, and they say stuff like, "Why don't you get a real job?" Or "What?" Oh, I love this. You know, why are you talking about that? You don't have experience, and then your imposter syndrome just starts boom, 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 boom. It's like everybody, your wife, your husband, your family, everyone's doubting you. Your friends are like, you know, they're
Friends.
working these 9 to 5 jobs at Target, and they're like, "Why do?" And it's like, okay, first you got to phase all that out, you know, and you know, you can certainly smash the like or leave a comment if that resonates true with you, because it certainly did with me. My first, so when I first started, what I tried to do, Marco, is I tried to combine. I'm just going to really shrink this down, but what I tried to do is I tried to combine what I was really interested in with this podcasting arena. By the way, which is after about 10 to 15 different ideas that I played with till I landed on podcasting. And I tried to marry podcasting with fatherhood because I'm a father, very passionate about fatherhood. I think we're really important. We play an important role. Kids need fathers, strong male influences in their lives. And what ended up happening for me was after a year through that, I loved the podcasting part, but it wasn't making any money. I wasn't making any money because I was selling some merch here and there, but it was not even close to what I needed to survive on. But what ended up happening was the concept of success leaving clues. Success leaves clues. And what started happening is people would reach out to me and say, "Hey, Mark, you've got this podcast. It looks cool. Can you teach me?" And so throughout that process, I started developing different offers. I started working with different clients, many, you know, a lot of, we'll just say there was a big learning curve, you know, and I think that's part of what makes it fun. And now I have a very much clear version of who can I help, who can I work with, who do I serve, building out offers. And so I think that, you know, trial by fire and walking through the fire is a big part of it. But, you know, and again, that's really what I try to do in the mastermind program is let's bring people together. Let's talk about your ideas. Let's figure out how to get there faster because it doesn't need to be as painful. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars hiring the wrong people, trying the wrong marketing, you know, because people come up to you and be like, "Oh, all you need is a $10,000 website and you'll be good. That's all you need." And it's like, eh, maybe not. So at any rate, I think that, you know, putting yourself out there and learning and getting better is a big part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely agreed. Because, and the thing is, of course, when we look back and we realize we didn't make the right choice, like, okay, I should, instead of having this idea, maybe that one would be better. It's good to make this kind of reflections after things happen. It's really
Yeah.
easy. Yes. And the thing is, I know what it is. What the hell do you do? How, why don't you get a real job? I heard a few days ago the first episode of a podcast where the host was mentioning that nobody was understanding what he was doing. Like they were all 9 to 5, 9 to 5. So this is another struggle. For instance, you are American, so let me tell you, don't tell this anyone. In Portugal, we are really conservative. okay, so if you try to stand out, if you want to try to make a thing different, I started live streaming in 2015, almost 8 years ago.
Wow.
For lots of people, uh, live streaming by today, it's a frightening thing, scaring thing. So realize about this before COVID, before this live streaming thing. This guy wants to be a TV star.
Yeah. Well, that idea of like you can be a YouTuber was like so outlandish. Like, everyone, your parents saying, why don't you get a job? Why don't you become a doctor and a lawyer, something like that? But now kids want to be YouTubers. And I'm not saying that, I don't think you're going to be the next Mr. Beast. Sorry, listener. Like that's tough. Like I'm not going to be The Rock, right? But there's a long tail and there's so many opportunities to generate income and to build freedom, especially now. And you kind of alluded to this, Marco, in AI, in Chat GPT and all these AI tools. Like just last night, in the mastermind program, I brought in, I'll call him an AI expert. Let's just say he's a genius when it comes to this stuff. And I said, hey, let's do a test here. Let's write a blog article using Chat GPT. And within 20 minutes, it's crazy. It's going up on YouTube here tomorrow or today, but it was within 20 minutes we had an SEO rich title to the blog. We had a table of contents, and by the way, the first table of contents was and so what we use the term make it more compelling, and it just asking Chat GPT to make it more compelling, mind blowing. Like
Oh my.
it was just so. A quick tip: if you're using Chat GPT, just ask Chat GPT to make it more compelling, and it will be more compelling. And then we said, hey, write a 1,500 word blog article. And so the problem that you'll run into if you've tried to do this before is Chat GPT has this limitation where it will only write a certain amount of words and then it'll stop. And then you'll be like, okay, well, where's the rest of it? But quick takeaway, if you use the term Chat GPT, let's do this step by step, write a 1,500 word article. What it's going to do is it's going to write half of the article. And then you just ask it to continue and it'll write the second half of the article, which I didn't know that, and so these little prompts enabled us to write a 1,500 word blog article in less than 20 minutes. Plus, it gave us a bunch of inspiration to create other sub articles out of the main article, which can create a bunch of backlinks through your website. So I was like, I think I just invented a new business here which is, so basically every call that I've been on this morning, I've been like, have you thought about using Chat GPT to write blog articles for business owners? Like, I think you can make a lot of money doing that. So anyway, long tail, tons of opportunity, very disruptive time. You just got to listen to shows like the Special Marketing Show and get it out there, baby.
Absolutely. And okay, let's start by the beginning. Like, and I'm on it right now. Finally, I chose the final arts. My voice it's getting back to normal after a terrible flu. I was like
Oof.
talking like this and coughing all the time, but now I'm okay. And we heard this a few weeks ago with in this conversation with Pat Flynn, and I think this was a really insightful thought. And thank you so much for bringing it up to us. And when we start this thing of coming with a batch of, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5 episodes instead of, okay, I'm gonna bring this one and then I will come with others. For me, this was one of the most insightful thoughts he left with us, because if we just leave one there, maybe this could be a nice way for, okay, I will go there, I will listen only one, then maybe I will go and I will never remind about that podcast. Your thoughts, how did you start it? If you could come back, which things maybe you could do in a different way? So we are all newbies. We want to start our podcast. Mark, tell us what we need to do, how we should set this.
Whew, big question there. So I'll say the biggest mistake I think that I made was making the decision that I'm just going to learn it all by my own, and I'm going to fail forward. And I don't necessarily regret that, but I think that that was a mistake because what I was doing is I was watching all these different YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, just taking all this information, trying to put it together, but it didn't come together in like a cohesive plan, you know. And this is one of the reasons why I started the After Hours Entrepreneur Mastermind, because I recognized that when I was starting, like I having that community, having people that you can bounce ideas off of is really important. Because it can be really difficult to get feedback with a new show. You're starting your new podcast and you'll ask people to listen and give you a review and give you their opinion. And it's hard to get anything greater than like, that's nice.
Or you suck.
Or yeah, there's plenty of people say you suck. That was something that really kind of, and I remember you people. I know the people who said, what business do you have talking about that? Look at me now is all I can say. Look at me now. You know, I can forgive, but I don't forget.
Yeah, same here. And if you don't mind, Mark, because this is one of those thoughts that come to my mind, because usually we we tend to listen. Oh, if you want to get feedback, ask your friends, ask your family. This for me, it's the last people I will consider to ask feedback. Last, it's not that I don't like them. It's not. It's because they don't understand what I'm doing.
Right.
That's the point. So don't ask for feedback to your relatives, to your friends.
Have you
Which,
read this book,
yes.
Rich Dad Poor Dad? It's kind of like that. It's like, I want to get rich. Don't ask the poor dad, because the poor dad doesn't understand the concepts that are necessary. Same thing with the podcast. You know, if you want to grow a podcast, if you want to grow a business, you need to talk to the people that have done it, that are doing it, that understand what you're trying to
Absolutely.
build. Because if you're
Absolutely.
trying to get feedback from, you know, like you said, a family member who's not in the right mindset, who doesn't understand how to do it, they're not going to give you valuable feedback. Not all feedback is created equal.
Absolutely. For instance, one of the things they tend to say to me, well, you should use a suit, a tie. And what the fuck? I don't wear that. So I would look uncomfortable. I wouldn't look me. And the thing is, I like to use hoodies. This one particular, it's pretty cute. And this is really important. For me, there's only two types of people to ask feedback. And one you already mentioned, those people that already made that path. They understand what your struggles, your pains, these kind of things. And also those people who may be your target. Okay. You may be my customer. So does this message resonate with you? Does this is this understandable for you? And not those, oh friends, oh, that's so cute, oh my god, that's so nice, you rock, or you suck, why are you doing this, why don't you get a real job? Avoid those people.
Yes. Yeah. Feedback is immensely important. 100% agree. Everything from, do I sound good? Do I look good? You know, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to get that, which is why, again, I felt like this mastermind needs to happen, and it's been great. And I've like, it's $50 a month, and everyone's telling me, Mark, you need to increase the price. You need to increase the price. And I'm like, one side of me wants to, the other side is like, but I want to make it accessible so people can get started. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And by the way, we have here Arnaldo from Brazil. Arnaldo, it's a podcaster as well. And we have John. I believe that John followed me. So thank you so much. If you have any questions on Amazon, on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, please, or Twitter, please feel free to drop them, because I believe that Mark would love to answer you.
Yeah, baby. Put the questions in the chat. I love Q&A. Like, again, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to give you the real feedback, because I know how hard it is to get good feedback, constructive feedback. Type it in the chat. We'll give it to you.
Absolutely. So we are talking about audio content. So it's important how we sound. So my question, I see in the screen two gents. using the same microphone, the Shure SM7B, which is highlighted right now in the carousel. But, Mark, do we need at the beginning to have a microphone like this one?
No. The short answer is no, and frankly, you probably shouldn't because um, if you might not necessarily be into podcasting. You might try it for a week or a month and be like, this isn't really for me. And that's great. That's fine. I'd love that you'd find that that zone of genius, right? And so spending, I've got a $400 mic here, which by the way is awesome. I love this mic. It's fantastic. Sounds great. Very easy to set up. It is an XLR only connector. So you
Mhm.
do need an audio interface to make it work. It doesn't plug directly into your computer.
And a
Um,
cable.
yeah,
Let me show you mine as well.
yeah, baby. Um, I think we might even have the same boom arm too. I like that. Yeah, the boom arm too.
It looks the same, but this one, I think it's from I Know Gear,
Yeah, yeah, I have Innogear.
and
Yeah.
this one it's from Newer.
Okay,
But
fair
it's
enough.
pretty nice.
Pretty similar. I've tried a bunch of boom arms too, and it's hard to
Yeah,
find a good boom arm that holds and is safe to. But I would say, I mean, I think that we live in a day and age where we're doing so many of these virtual meetings. I think it's important that you sound good.
absolutely.
It stands out. So, my recommendation typically to someone who's just kind of testing the water is, hey, spend $80, buy like a Samsung Q2, I think it's a Q2U, or an
Yes,
ATR 2100. Like those are really solid microphones. You can get a really good sound out of it, and it plugs right into your laptop, right into your computer, just by a USB. So I love that microphone for starters.
absolutely, and it's pretty important. Again, uh, for instance, even when the content it's video, the the audio it's the most important thing. Two main reasons. One, it's you will watch a video if the image it's not crystal clear but the audio it is, and if the audio it's a mess even though you have 4K image, people will leave. Besides that, and this is important, if you want to reuse the content, for instance video content, rip off the audio and then use it as a podcast, if you don't have the right audio, bye bye.
Yeah. It's necessary. Although I will say, I don't know if you know Russell Brunson, he's the founder of ClickFunnels, pretty
Yes,
big company.
yes.
He started his podcast on his phone. So what you do is he downloaded Anchor, which is free. Now it's called
Yeah.
Spotify Podcast. I believe it just
Yes, yes. They
so
changed a
so
few
he
days ago or
downloaded
so.
Spotify Podcast for free. And on his way to the office every day, he would just record into his phone 5 minutes. What am I doing today? And I think that's a really intuitive way to build a podcast is documenting the journey. I think people find that really interesting. That said, sounding great is really important. Um, and the other mistake I think people make when it comes to audio is they just, we don't use the microphone correctly, right? So,
Hmm.
for example, when I first started podcasting, I had my microphone and it was like this because I didn't want the microphone in the frame with me, right? I kind of wanted it out here. I didn't want it, but you can hear when I talk, it sounds like I'm in a distant echo chamber. It's not that
Yep.
full crisp sound. So what I found is you want to get up close and personal, like it's your
Absolutely.
like you're in the movie theater with your woman and you're whispering sweet nothings into her ear. I love you, baby. You're so amazing.
Or
That's
that
where you want to be.
radio, that late night radio voice.
That
So you
late
are
night with
listening to Marco Novo
this is the
radio station.
love doctor. That's
Yes,
what you want.
absolutely, absolutely. And we need to talk about this because this boogie monster, it's there all the time. The imposter syndrome. Oh, I'm not creating content because I'm not as good as that. Because there are so many people creating content around that topic. I can't bring anything new or different to the table. Your thoughts on this, Mark? Because I believe there's always room to help people overcome the terrible imposter syndrome.
Oh man, imposter syndrome makes me so sad because the imposter syndrome is it's like a little demon that, figuratively speaking, like a little demon that was installed in your brain just to question everything, and to doubt yourself. And that, I think, comes from external sources. That doesn't come from you. That comes from maybe a parent or a relative or a friend or a bad experience that you had as a kid who said you're not good enough. And it's really sad to me because that holds you back from being the best version of yourself. And you know what? Dirty little secret. Most public speakers like myself, we get nervous before we go on stage. We get nervous before we hit record. So part of it is punching fear in the face. And the reality is that in order to be successful, you're going to have failure. It's going to happen. I'll give you an example. In my podcast, After Hours Entrepreneur, I had brought on a guest who has a really, really good sound, really great audio quality. He's a professional singer. He was on The Voice. Really great dude, Manny Cabo. And we recorded an episode. I thought it was really valuable. It was really great. But then when I went back and to listen to it, I had the wrong microphone setting. So it was coming through my webcam. It sounded like dirt. It was terrible. I was like, this is an episode about how to sound good, and I sound like poop. Sounds like I'm recording on a potato. So that type of thing is going to happen. I talked to him. He's like, cool, I'll come back on. We'll re-record. Great, cool. But, with every failure comes a lesson. And with every lesson comes room for improvement. And now I've recorded hundreds and hundreds of episodes, probably 400, 500 episodes I've recorded. And I'm just a different person now. And quite frankly, I hope that in 1 year I can listen back and be like, wow, I was terrible. I'm so much better now. And I think that's what makes life exciting is that pursuit of greatness.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And this was in the right time because this will bring us to the next ingredient, which is pretty important. Can you guess which ingredient I'm talking about?
I was thinking a little cayenne pepper, a little spice, a little zest. Is that what we're talking about?
We are talking about consistency.
Ah, yeah. Yes, indeed.
Because few years ago I made a live show all by myself, like the song, and I was talking about why we should be consistent. And one of the reasons is because people won't take you for serious if you're not consistent. Like, okay, I'm gonna do a podcast today. Blah, blah, made. And for instance, next 6 days, I'm gonna create each day a podcast. Then I disappear for 6 months. 6 months after, I will come back. Another thing, people won't take us for serious without being consistent. Which advantages you see on being consistent, Mark?
So it's obviously important, consistency. But I think consistency is important, maybe not for the reason that most people think. I show up every day, people see that, and so they'll start to watch. I think that's part of it. But
Absolutely.
I think why consistency is so important is kind of like what we talked about before. It's because as you show up, you just get better. You just keep getting better and better and better. And as people start to recognize that you get better, one person listens and then they tell their friend, then you have two, and then that's four. So I think the consistency is important for your personal development, um, more so than anything, because people have, I hear this all the time. People have this expectation that, I'm going to start a podcast and I want to make, let's say I want to make $50,000 in the first year. That's not the way that it works. There's not many industries like my son picked up baseball. Like he's not going to be in the major leagues next year, right? It takes years of practice and honing. So to your point, Marco, consistency is important to being good at anything. There's not one thing that you're just going to pick. I'm not going to go to the World Series of Poker and just win. Like it's just not going to happen, But what I think is really important is that you fight the imposter syndrome. You put yourself out there, you start to learn, and then be honest with yourself, because podcasting is not for everyone. Live streaming is not for everyone. It's just not, and the real magic is when you're consistently trying new things, and then you find, I like this. I'm good at this. And so finding something that you enjoy, finding something that you're great at, and then finding something that people want. That's like the secret sauce, is finding those three things. Because if you're great at it, you enjoy it, and people will buy it, you've got the recipe there for some real success. And I think that's why the consistency is important, because it helps you find that zone of genius.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, and I don't know if you saw it, maybe not, but a few weeks ago I created a post with different a carousel with this thing. Consistency, it's great, it's perfect, but it's not enough if you don't do this and this. Like, evaluate. If you don't look okay, if because if you're doing the same thing the all the days without improving, without looking back, without measuring the impact you're making, without anything, consistency, it's useless.
Yes.
No point at all on that.
Yeah, you have
And
to show up, but you have to show up with the openness of understanding, hey, I'm going to need to get better over time, you know. Or the realisticness to say, I don't enjoy this. It's not fun for me. Because if you don't enjoy recording and live streaming, there's other ways to make a life for yourself. There's other ways to make money. Like we just talked about a few minutes ago. I think the biggest opportunity right now is writing blog articles for small businesses to improve their SEO, to help them rank in Google, because ChatGPT and AI allows you to create content at scale very quickly. It's immensely powerful. Like I, I'm shocked at how powerful it is. It's
absolutely.
shocking. Because quite frankly, I don't like writing. I'm a decent writer, but I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. And when I was starting off, I was like, I was spending so much time doing something I didn't enjoy. And so the fact that there's this program that can do it better than me, faster than me, more accurately than me is amazing, because now I can take that off my plate and focus on what I love to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is, and for instance, I like to write. Okay, I think I'm not that bad, but the thing is, it's so much funnier for me to be in front of a camera and create my content. And the thing is, and this is something that we should have in mind as well, we can't play the whole orchestra. We should
Right.
focus. I want to be the director, I want to be the violin player, I want to play the piano, but focus on that. And then you should find other musicians or other people to do that thing for you. Do you I think you had that struggle as well. Like at the beginning, I think we run through this situation like we look around and, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, and we kind of lose the focus on what we are good at and what we could make better than everybody else.
Yeah. Well, and I think that at the same time, you need to have levels of competence in other areas, but you're not going to be,
Yep.
you want to be the best at one thing, but you need to be competent at other things. And I've become a big fan of Alex Hormozy since reading his book. I know you're not supposed to turn away from the camera, but I don't care. I write my own rules. But since I got this book, $100 million offers, it really changed my life in a lot of ways. You can get this for like 99 cents on Amazon. Great book. But he has this point of what we call skill stacking, right? And I'm sure you've seen that meme where there's a guy that's digging for gold and he stops right before the gold is there.
Yep. Or diamonds. Yes.
Exactly. And the reason why that happens, and this is Alex's point, the reason this happens is because you need a certain amount of skills in order for your business to take off, right? So you could have a great voice, but if you don't have the right storytelling techniques, it's not going to work. And if you have the great voice, the great storytelling, but you suck at marketing, it's not going to work. But if you have, so it's about stacking all these skills on top of each other, right? So now I have a great voice, I'm a great storyteller, I'm a great marketer, but my production is really slow and it's choppy. Okay, now that I figured that out, how do I generate income so I can pay a team to handle it, right? And so it's about stacking all these skills on top of each other. And that's where the consistency part comes in, because eventually when you've created all the systems and you have all the right skills, that that is the moment where your business is like boom. And it's, I don't want to just brag, but it's kind of cool to see that over the course of the past 4 to 5 years, I've continued to stack these skills on top of each other. And now I'm getting to the point where it's time to lift off, you know, and it's been a journey, man. Thousands of hours. I spent thousands of hours recording and editing and producing and doing stuff I didn't like doing. You know, I remember, and I still get this. My wife will say, like, you don't spend enough time with me, and we're not doing enough things together, right? So there's gonna be some sacrifice. There's gonna be hard work in getting people on board, surrounding yourself with the right people, and continuously stacking skills is I think something that doesn't get talked about enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, that's that thing, and I believe it's important. I learned I had a great marketer, my father, even though he only went to school 4 years, okay, because in the 50s it was like it was, okay. He ran away from Portugal to France because we were fighting. We had this fights war with some African countries, and so he decided, okay, instead of going to the war and maybe get killed, maybe I can go to France and I can get money. I believe it's more interesting. So he led some nice thoughts about this, about how we should. Um, Manage our business. And one of the things he said to me, if you want to open a restaurant, just to give an example, his business was painting buildings. And he said, if you want to have a restaurant, there's two things you need to know: how to make a steak, sorry, and also how much does it cost to make a steak.
Yes.
Because if by any reason for tomorrow we will lose the editor, you need to add it. That's the thing. And so it's important, of course, it's important to know the that T-shaped thing. Like, okay, some things we need to know at least that they are important, and like play those basic notes, and then in depth we need to excel that main thing that we are good and we like to do.
Well, I think that's a really good point, Marco. Because I'm a decent editor. I spent a lot of time editing, but and people will ask me questions like, "Hey, Mark, how can I edit faster? What can I do this?" And I can give a couple tips, but I don't edit. I barely do any editing. I have a team that does that, and my answer typically is, "Got to talk to my team members. They're the geniuses. I don't, you know, like I can tell you like download Descript and that'll save you time, or there's certain things you can do during your recording, like making notes of stuff you'd like to edit out and stuff like that, or the dog barking, or so I can give some specific examples. But to your point, finding people that can do it better than you, so that you can focus on the big picture stuff is important. I was, one of the members in our group, Casey Sowers, who's just really, really an impressive business operator, said this the other day. He's like, you want to hire people to do the $20 work so you can do the $1,000 work. And I was like, yes,
Absolutely.
that's the key there. But like to your point, your margins need to be on point. You need to have a place where your product or your service is valuable enough to the community, and you're good enough that you can, charge a certain amount.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this will take us to the next topic, which is pretty important about money. Let's talk about money because, for instance, the other day I don't know if you saw it, I went to my uh, former high school. I was a little bit afraid to get there, and some of my teachers told me, "Oh, the devil is back."
Yeah. I'm not going back
And
to my high school.
I was courage enough to go there. So one of the students asked me, "Are you a millionaire?" And I thanked her to come up with question. A, because I'm not a millionaire, not I'm far from getting there. I'm far from getting there. But the thing is, and I made this reflection with them because, and here, for instance, we have this poor dad mentality, this kind of thing. We don't deal pretty well with people that have much money or they charge uh, expensive fees for working with them. And so I explained, by charging more money doesn't mean that you want to become rich. You could, of course, there's no problem with that. But I told them, look, there's one thing when we are working that you should have in mind. You need to practice, you need to make new experiences. If you're not charging enough, you can't come up with new solutions because you are working all the time to make money and you can't try new things. So you need to charge a little bit more so you can get free time to improve. And some people they say, but for instance, I love to help people, so I don't want to charge them lots of money. This is the most wrong way to think that you can get because you could charge good money to those people that can pay. So you have this margin to work for fewer money or for free to people that can afford to pay you properly. And this is something that we should have in mind. I tell to this lady, because today I charge a pretty nice money for my services, I have more free time. And for instance, some years ago, I needed to work the whole 9 to 5 thing, 22 days or even more per month to get this. And now I can get this in fewer time. So this is something that we should have in mind. We should not be afraid of charging properly, of liking money, because we need them to make our life sustainable and good.
For sure. Well, so I think it's a good point. There's a couple things I think. One of the things I think gets people into trouble is they're really good at sales. If in there's some people that are just great at sales. The problem is they're not good on delivering on the promise. They can make all sorts of promises. So I agree. You want to find ways to charge more. Where you get into trouble is where you're charging a lot, but you're not delivering the value for that. Um, and so that kind of opens up this broader idea of getting out of that broken mentality of people can't afford this, or in because what you want to get to is you want to be to the point where you can charge exorbitant amounts and people will line up around the corner because your value proposition is that good. I'll give you an example. Right now, most of the clients I work with, that we're doing, weekly podcast production, uploading show notes, etc. Most of the clients I work with are paying around $1,000 a month. I have some that are more, some that are a little bit less, but about $1,000 a month. But I'm not content there. I want to get people to $5,000 a month, to $10,000 a month. So what I do is I look and I assess. Again, I run a podcast agency. We do production. So what I do is I look at what are the people that I serve, business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, tech moguls, the people that have podcasts, what do they want? The better I am at giving them what they want, the more I'm going to get paid. So if I can, let's say someone is not making any money on their podcast, it's going to be really hard for them to say, I'll pay you $5,000 a month, right? But if I help them grow a podcast so it's making $10,000 a month, they'll pay me $5,000 easy. They won't even blink. So I think that it really comes down to figuring out who am I serving and how can I give them what they want so that they won't even think twice about spending the money. It's about this idea. It's about this idea that Hormozy talks about is making an offer so good people feel stupid saying no. How to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no. And that's I think where you want to go to, because then you can charge the absorbent amounts to make your life better. But from a business standpoint, I think it's important to look at how can I make my life better. But when you're developing your offers, when you're developing your business, I like to think of it, how can I make my client's life better? Because then as a
Absolutely.
result, my life will be better.
Absolutely. Hello, Philip. Hello, welcome.
Yo, what's up?
So, besides having this in mind, and as I mentioned, it's important from the beginning understand that you need to find a way to generate money so your content can be self-sustainable. Okay, because and this idea come to my mind a few days ago. Sometimes I think, my brains they work, because one of the things is if you do content, because there's another thing that it's a misconception. Like you go to LinkedIn, you look at the bios. Most of them they say, "I want to help. I help wherever." And some people they think that helping it's for free. And I just tell to some, you go to the doctor, and they say, "Yes, I go." Do you go there for them to help you? Oh, yes, of course. For free? Uh, 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 uh. Because there's this misconception, I think, about helping meaning for free. No. You go to the lawyer to help you. I don't believe that you go to the lawyer because okay, I just want to go to the lawyer because I need to talk with someone. So the thing is, Mark, having in mind, for instance, three different stages with your content. A podcast, for instance. You're a starter, a beginner. You are kind of, you just brought that next level, like you have some authority, you start getting viewers, downloads, whatever, bringing, for instance, nice thought leaders. Second level and third level, you want to scale, like have the podcast as a more robust business generator. Okay, which advices or which ways you can recommend to be a way to get money from your podcast?
There's a lot of ways, and one of the ways I think Philip, by the way, is kind of exemplified here, which is I remember you from the Dealcaster show with Chris. That's important. You need to be memorable. Which, by the way, Phil, thanks. Reach out to me. I don't know if we've had the chance to speak, but I'd love to chat with you because the last thing you want to be in the podcast space is forgettable. You need to be like, I thought the other day, I was like, what's something that I can do to be more memorable? Like maybe I should wear a Band-Aid on my face like Nelly did, right? Maybe that's the ticket, right? I was thinking to myself, wow, that was really brilliant that he wore it was such a silly thing, but everybody remembers the Band-Aid from Nelly. So that's important. Being memorable. Um, 3,000 foot overview. There's a lot of different ways to monetize your show. I think one of the best ways is to have some sort of high ticket offer. If you were starting a show today and want to monetize right away, it's have some sort of high ticket offer. Maybe it's 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever your ticket offer is, and then leverage the podcast as a way to build your authority in that space. You can also use the podcast as a sales tool. So what you can do is you can say, okay, I sell widgets, and what I want to do is I know who my ideal consumer is. They're the CEOs of car dealerships, right? Or they're the managers of car dealerships. Well, I can use my show as a way of bringing them on, leading with value, developing a relationship, and then at the end of the conversation say, "Oh yeah, by the way, I sell widgets. I'm the best. I sell widgets. I'm the biggest widget distributor in the state or whatever." And then all of a sudden, you've developed a relationship with your ideal avatar, your ideal customer. I think that's a great way of using it as as a direct sales tool. On the back end, there's communities, there's memberships, sponsorships. I'm at a point now where I'm getting paid up to $500 for a guest to come on my show. I've leveraged that to land sponsors through brand deals. I'm spending a lot of money in advertising and marketing. So those are other ways. Just specifically for me, those are the ways that I've had the most success. Leveraging it as a tool to build my personal brand, to build my professional brand, turning that into clients and referrals is becoming an authority in my space, building community, and then sponsorships. Those are the ways that I've had success. But there's other ways. There's other ways. Affiliate links. I also make a little bit of money on affiliate links. I have like an Amazon sales page, and so I can create videos about my setup. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I also, when I bring on a client for a podcast launch, I have affiliate links with software companies, hardware, etc. And what I found is the clients are always asking me, Mark, what type of mic do I need? Mark, what software do I need? I say, these are a list of what I recommend. And then as the clients purchase those, it doesn't cost them anything. It's actually, they get it cheaper. Then I get a little bit of revenue on the back end. So there's a lot of different ways you can build up your infrastructure.
Absolutely. And this thing about, and I saw this, I think it was Jason Pfeiffer or so.
Sure. Entrepreneur Magazine, editor-in-chief.
Yes. He just shared a print screen on LinkedIn about something that he made. And it's pretty clear about this, because sometimes we have this feeling, oh, I don't want to sell, I don't want to look too salesy or whatever. But the thing is, and the example he gave, he was kind of tagged on Twitter about his book, which, by the way, I'm on Audible listening to it. And he jumped in the conversation and left there the link. Oh, to save you time, you can see here the book. And one of the other people that were in the conversation on LinkedIn, on Twitter, he said, "Oh, thank you so much. I already ordered the book." So I believe that one of the things, and the thing is, this is the hard thing to do, which is being relevant and being in the right context to kind of recommend to sell. Because, for instance, I believe that today I can be a nice source to talk about the right microphone, the right camera, whatever, like you. Okay. But if at the beginning I was trying to, oh, you should buy this and this without the knowledge, maybe it's not the right time.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily have a problem with, creating a podcast or YouTube channel with affiliate links. I did that at first, but what ended up happening was I just didn't have much success. Nobody was buying this stuff because I didn't have the authority built up. But to your point, that if you have the consistency piece, if you have the branding in place, as you stay consistent, people will start to say, oh, well, Marco's produced hundreds and hundreds of live streams. He probably knows what he's talking about. And that's the key too. Nobody likes to be sold. Nobody wants to be sold. We hate it. So, you have to be delivering the right message to the right person at the right time. And it's sometimes difficult to put all those three things together. But if you have a podcast or a show and you're showing up consistently, it's just going to start to happen naturally, because someone's like, I've been looking for this. Here it is. This person's credible. I want to hop on a call. It's a really powerful way of selling without selling.
Yes. And the thing is, and this is one of the good things about these new ways of content, they are pretty democratic, and they are if you do it properly. Okay, not everybody will generate authority. Don't think about it like, okay, just because I'm going to show up, I will build authority. It's not the thing, but yes, you can bring some authority. And hopefully, for instance, some brands could approach to you to talk, to be their voices as well, and this is pretty important. And by the way, if you are watching us on Amazon, please click right now in the item highlighted in the carousel to subscribe Mark's podcast. We have here Chris Stone. If you're not on Amazon, feel free to go to the video description. You will find there marketing.live, and then you can join the conversation and also subscribe Mark's podcast, which is pretty good. Just because we have so many things to talk, but time flies. Do you think for content creators, AI will be a threat, a help? Your thoughts on this?
Well, it's both, and I definitely got to give a shout out to my man Chris Stone. There, he turned me on to this AI tool Swell, which has, frankly, it's transformed my business, brother. So I appreciate that. It's been awesome, super powerful. The answer is both. You know, if you don't adapt to this new type of creation model, you're definitely not going to be able to compete, because AI enables us to create way more content, way faster, at a higher quality. And, you know, if you're still doing things the old way, it's just not going to work, right? Like, if you're still typing on a typewriter, sorry, there's these things called computers. Like, you know, if you're still sending faxes, you're missing the mark. It's, you know, so again, with technology, we have to adapt. I've been really interested in AI. I've been talking a lot about AI on my podcast, just because I see. So here's the other thing, Marco. I think a lot of people, when they hear AI, they don't really see the correlation between the technology and their profit margin, their scalability. And that's what I try to really focus on. I say, hey, I've been using this app Swell, and it's allowed me to write way more blogs and way more pieces of content. It's allowed me to empower my team to be much more effective. This is what I'm doing. This is how you can leverage it. So, and again, you know, on YouTube today, or maybe tomorrow, I've got a video going up on how we created a huge 1,500 word blog article using Chat GPT, how we could make it more compelling, how we could make it write more, how could we could. So I really focus on AI as a tool now, because if you're using it as a tool, you're going to be much more competitive in the marketplace. And in fact, I think within the next couple of years, if you're not using AI, you're just not going to be able to compete at all. It's, it's like when automobiles were invented. If you were still riding a horse around, you're gonna have a much harder time competing with the businesses that are using automobiles. It's We've seen this time and time and time again, and with great disruption comes great opportunity. So I want to challenge everyone: make sure you listen to the After Hours Entrepreneur so you don't miss the opportunities, because they are real, they are here. And if you don't take advantage of the opportunities, it's going to be very hard to compete. If you do take advantage of the opportunities, you're going to see profit margins go through the roof. That's what I've seen, and I know it. I know it works because I'm doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we came to the end. Oh my God. Time flies. Maybe later we can. I can ask you to come back, because there are so many things to talk about this. And meanwhile, we can try new AI tools and other things, and so we can talk about them.
Bro, we're doing it all in the After Hours Entrepreneur Mastermind, the After Hours Entrepreneur Mastermind, baby. Like, if you got, listen, it's $50 a month. Invest in yourself. Join me, join Marco, join all the other great entrepreneurs and creators. I don't know what else to say. Like, if you can't invest $50 in yourself, it's going to be hard, I think, for you to get ahead, for all the reasons we've talked about: feedback, education, sales opportunities, collaboration opportunities. I don't know. It's $50 a month. I feel disappointed with people. It's not, to me, it's not the money it's the time. You have to be willing to invest a little bit of time in yourself. But if you're ready to level up, if you're ready to build a business that works, to develop income and profit, learn the AI, learn marketing, sales, lead, like this is the place you have to be. I don't know what else to say. The After Hours Entrepreneur Mastermind.
Yes, and the thing is, and I have this same line of thought, and when people, okay, now here in Portugal, they don't even ask me my quotations. But the thing is, if you have a business and if you don't have the XYZ amount of money to pay to a consultant, you're not being serious with your business. End of story.
I agree.
Don't don't waste my time, don't waste your time, because if you just want to pay, for instance, 25 $30 hour to a consultant to work with you, maybe you should rethink about the way you are doing business.
Well, and when it comes to consultants, like it can be a very large financial commitment, and you're not always sure if someone can deliver. I had a call with someone earlier today who was asking me some questions, and I wasn't 100% I could deliver for them. I felt like I probably could, but what I said was, listen, what I prefer is for someone to invest a little bit in me, join $50 a month, try it for a month, see how it works. If it's good and you want to go further with me, then we can do that. But they were asking about one-on-one consulting. I was like, I'd rather you just do this for now, and then we can see if we're fit, and then we can go further, because I understand that hiring a coach or a consultant for 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 bucks when you're starting off, um, I think that can be a big challenge. So that's kind of why I have it
Yes.
priced right now at 50. And
Yes, but the thing is, sometimes you look at their car, they have a fancy car, they go to
yeah.
fancy restaurants, and they don't. The thing here, it's a lot like this.
Oh, don't get me
Okay.
started on that. Like, bro, you don't need a
So,
$600 wallet. Like, come on, man. Like,
so the thing is, Mark, three reasons why having a podcast could be a pretty profitable way to create content.
oh, well, you your digital media presence is a requirement. If you don't have a digital media presence, you're not going to exist moving forward. We're spending more time online. People are not going to the yellow books, the yellow pages to find businesses. They're going, like, your digital media brand, your digital media presence is everything. It's not an option. You must have it. Um, B, podcasting is great. I like it because it helps. It's like the engine to your digital media presence. It's your long form, it's your short form, etc. And I guess the third reason is that um, people buy things from people that they like. They buy things from people that make them feel a certain sort of way. And it's hard, I think, to develop that type of relationship from 15-second Instagram reels. And I think a podcast, or a YouTube or a live show or a blog, you need to have a place where you can flesh out your ideas in greater detail. There's a reason why people listen to 3 hours of Rogan. It's because they like the personality, they can grow with him. So anyway, having a place where people can absorb some of the more complicated ideas that can't be explained in a 15-second TikTok is important.
Yes, and for instance, for those that don't dance properly, like me,
I
it's
can do
good
the
to avoid
worm.
TikTok. So, where can people find you, Mark? Besides, don't forget, I'm going to highlight again After Hours Entrepreneur podcast on Amazon. So run to Amazon before the show ends. Okay. Once the show ends, the carousel will remain there, and the podcast. It's the first item in the carousel. It just need to click. It's free.
Click
Besides
it.
that, where can people find you?
Uh, Mark Savant Media everywhere. But what I'd ask you to do is shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you. Mark@marksavantmedia.com. That's Mark@marksavantmedia.com. if you got some value, if you're interested in learning more about me, go to mark@marksavantmedia.com. Shoot me an email.
And okay, let me just to finish. I was listening your podcast, and there's something that kind of blew my mind. By the end, you say, if you had 20 minutes to listen to this podcast, I will get 20 minutes to talk with you. And this was a really insightful thing. You were pretty clever doing this. I really like it, that way to approach, because it's more engaging. Like, okay, you are fine, so I need to be fine with you as well.
100%. I'm actually looking for a book. I can't find it here, but here it is.
Okay, I can dance to make some time. Oh,
Super. Key component.
Absolutely.
And like you said, if you had 20 minutes, if you have the time to shoot me an email, I have the time to talk to you.
Perfect. Pretty awesome. Mark, thank you so much. I will see you, if not before, on Friday in another mastermind session.
Yeah, baby. See you
We
Thursday.
have here Arnaldo. Thanks for the meeting, tips and ideas. You're welcome, Arnaldo. Thank you so much. Maybe Arnaldo should join the mastermind as well.
I mean, listen, the more the merrier. If you're focused on self-development, building a real business, there's no better place to be. I really believe that. And for $50, you can't beat it. You just can't. I don't know what else to say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much for being here. It was a really insightful conversation. Thank you. And thank you to all of you who tuned in today. And Philip, thank you, Marco and Mark. Fantastic show. Thank you so much, Philip.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate you, brother. Nice to see you again.
So much. I really appreciate that you took some time to spend with us. It's an honor and a pleasure. Hopefully, I will be live tomorrow again. So don't forget to follow so you can get notification. And by the way, I just realized yesterday that you are an Amazon influencer too. So maybe you should think about making some Amazon live shows as well.
Dig it, baby. Thanks again, Marco. Everyone have an awesome day. Go crush it, baby. Go do it. Go take action.
Yes, absolutely. Bye-bye.